All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about CJ Stroud. This is the CJ Stroud. This is the Texans video. This team has made it to the playoffs 3 straight seasons, and CJ Stroud has won a playoff game for 3 straight years. And Houston last year was a really cool story because they had such a bad start, and then they just go on an absolute heater. In the second half, they have this historic scoring defense. They've got Will Anderson Jr., Danielle Hunter. They've got just a literally absurd defense. And they run the table just about, make the playoffs, don't win the division, and they play Pittsburgh on the road in the first game. You don't even really remember that game. I think that was Sunday night. Maybe it was the Monday night game, but don't really remember it. And then you get to New England week after that, and that was the pick parade. And then the week before was the fumble frenzy, the fumble fiasco. The point is, the Texans keep having good regular seasons. CJ Stroud keeps having good regular seasons. They win a playoff game, and it is like last year was against Justin Herbert in Los Angeles. It's like so under the radar. It's an under the radar playoff win. And then they just get like smoked in the next game. Like I feel it keeps happening every single season. And the first year it happened when CJ Stroud was a rookie and the crazy Houston Texan turnaround. It was a really cool story. And now we're 3 years past that, and it's just, all right, this team needs to get to that next level. And with the defense we saw last season, it would be a damn shame if we didn't see this team get to that next level. You know, I went back, Stroud threw, I think it was 4 interceptions in that loss to the New England Patriots in the divisional. It's tough, man. And I see a lot of CJ Stroud slander, but I also see a lot of CJ Stroud apologists, and I see a lot of excuses. Like, I first got my story started covering the Houston Rockets, and so I did that for a couple of years. And so, like, my Twitter and my timeline, it's a lot of Houston Texan fans, it's a lot of Houston Rocket fans, it's a lot of Houston sport fans, and all the time, every loss, every win, I see just replies to tweets of like, calling this guy out or saying this about CJ Stroud or calling out the coordinator, calling out the coaching, whatever it is. So many excuses. But this team, I know Stroud is a worthy quarterback. I don't know if he's definitely not a top 10 QB anymore. He's capable of it. And I would even say he was maybe, off the top of my head, he was maybe a top 15 quarterback this past season. And so I have this kind of moral issue as a fan where, of course, I think CJ Stroud can win a Super Bowl, and of course I think that Houston's a few moves away. But then the reality part of my brain is like, when are they going to get this going? It reminds me, I'm a Packers fan, it reminds me a little of Green Bay, where it's starting to get to a point where we need to see some change. Like, I'm getting sick of seeing the same end. And I was saying CJ Stroud, like, I trust him, but then I also see a lot of bad habits. And Texan fans, this is where the excuses comes in. Like, CJ Stroud, rookie QB, bad offensive line. When these young rookie QBs come into the NFL, they're coming to the worst or second worst or a bottom 10 team in the league. They usually have bad offensive lines. Because if you can win in the trenches, you're going to win some football games. So you have these rookie QBs, like think Joe Burrow or whatever, and they get into the league and they've got this just horrible offensive line. And so they start to develop, as the season progresses, bad habits. And some of these bad habits revolve around footwork, and it revolves around sticking on reads too long and then not seeing the rest of the field. And then even if the pocket's not collapsing, you fall back onto your bad habits of starting to backpedal out of the pocket. And so Texans fans, like I said, CJ Stroud backing out of these pockets infuriates them. And then the other half is, well, hey, if that left tackle didn't do that, if that center didn't do that, if that offensive lineman didn't do that, then CJ Stroud wouldn't have had to backpedal and throw up a pick or loft up an incompletion. So when I see this offense, even in that win streak, it always felt a little rushed, especially in the playoffs. These are losses. I think Houston was down like 21-10, if I'm not mistaken, at halftime, and they're lost against New England in the divisional. But the offense always feels rushed. CJ Stroud always feels rushed. at the end of the day, I don't think you're going to win that many playoff games when your second best receiver is Xavier Hutchinson. Xavier Hutchinson's a third-year player, and this was his best year by far. He had around a little over 400 receiving yards. The math averages out to like 25 receiving yards per game. So your second best receiver was Xavier Hutchinson because Stephon Diggs is not on the team. He's over in New England. And then Tank Dell is injured again. And we didn't even see Tank Dell this past season. So now you've had 3 years of Tank Dell. All 3 of them have been injured. If I'm not mistaken, all 3 of these years have been injured. This one was the whole season. So that sucks. You've got 2 rookies, Jalen Noel, more of a special teams guy at the start of the year especially. And then you've got Jaden Higgins. And I really like Jaden Higgins. I really like Jalen Noel. And I like Xavier Hutchinson. But there's just wasn't enough there. So, yes, they trade away Laramie Tunsil, starting left tackle. Some fans are upset at that. But when you go back and you watch it, Tunsil wasn't really doing enough for Stroud. So they actually get the upgrade, their second-round draft pick at left tackle. That ends up working out. But even at the time, get that draft compensation because Tunsil wasn't really helping the offensive line. So inconsistent revolving door offensive line. Not good, not reliable. And then you've got an injured wide receiver room. So that's all going to add up to uncomfortableness. It's all going to add up to awkwardness. And it's why, in my opinion, whenever I watch Houston, especially at the end of last season, it looks discombobulated. The timing doesn't look right. The timing doesn't look perfect like the Seattle Seahawks would or the New England Patriots were. And so I saw all this stuff like, oh, the Texans are going to run the table and they're going to make it to the Super Bowl and they're my dark horse Super Bowl team. And, I wish that I could sit here and be like, oh, yeah, man, I totally agree. But the offense it's just broken. Like Christian Kirk, I realize I might have pissed off some Texans fans in that, 3-minute rant. Christian Kirk, that it didn't work out. And so I know he was injured at some point for maybe like a month last year. Christian Kirk had like 240 receiving yards last year. I know Dalton Schultz is talented. I know Woody Mark should have been getting way more pass reps. But the offense was just inadequate. And so this year you'll see, they've got like the 28th pick or it's something deep. They've got the 28th pick. I saw Caleb Lomu, offensive tackle out of Utah, although he seems a little bit more like a project. Cade Mays, upgrade the center possibly. Isaac Siamalu, if they're going to be paying money, if they're going to free up some cap space. Houston, in the draft and in free agency, it's going to be offensive line. It's going to be a lot of offensive line here. Ed Ingram's a impending free agent, right guard. I'm positive they want him back, and I'm positive he wants to come back. He had a huge bounce back year. Ed Ingram, shout out to him at right guard. So I think they'll bring him back. Trent Brown, I believe, will be about to be 33 years old. He's a journeyman. I'm sure they're going to want to bring him back as a swing tackle, but I anticipate them upgrading the RT probably through the draft or free agency. I've seen some fans want Tyler Linderbaum, the center for the Ravens, but Houston's cap situation isn't the best as of right now, minus $8.2 million as we head into free agency in a couple of weeks. So Christian Kirk's a free agent, and then just those 2 offensive linemen and Christian Kirk. So Ingram will be back and then need a new slot, although Tank Dell will be returning from his injury. And whether they pick, I've seen Mike Evans flaunted out there. I don't really trust the wide receiver room quite yet, even if Tank Dell's back. Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins, Xavier Hutchinson, Tank Dell, Jalen Noel. Really, really, really solid wide receiver room. Not sure I trust the health of Tank Dell enough to not at least add another wide receiver into the mix, especially with the Christian Kirk free agency. Don't anticipate they're bringing him back. Probably cut Joe Mixon loose. You're probably not bringing Nick Chubb back. The Texans had a really good draft last year. I'm trying to remember who your third rounder is that got injured twice that didn't see. But, I think all but 2 Texan rookies hit. And the other 2, one of them, wasn't it a backup QB? was it Graham Mertz, or I think it was a QB, and then the safety that got injured. Woody Marks was, I want to say 5th round. He could have even been the 6th round. Woody Marks was really good. They need an every down running back. And, the Nick Chubb experiment was cool for a couple of weeks at the beginning of the season. The Joe Mixon thing, I think, is just over. Breece Hall, seen a lot of Texans fans want Breece Hall. I don't think the money's going to be there. And I also just think the Jets are going to do whatever it possibly takes for them to retain him. Trying to think of something else to go in here. I feel like I had a fun statistic for the offensive line. I do not, but Woody Marks, get him some pass reps. Get him some pass reps. But I'm into fantasy football the whole year. I think I drafted him as a deep stash, and he's so talented. He's really good. But it was the really big issue for Houston. I think he had less than 20 rushing yards in that game against the New England Patriots. The Texans as a team had 3.3 yards per play. They had 41 rushing yards, something like that, against the Patriots. They need, obviously the offensive line, but then they just need a workhorse running back, and there's probably no better way to find it than in the draft, although I will just say this is a really interesting free agency for running backs. It's a really good year to want or need a running back. Rico Dowdle maybe goes to Houston, but there's a lot of running backs out there on the market, so maybe they'll actually address that in free agency. Jawar Jordan was cool at the end of the season, but they need an every down running back so that they can plug and play Woody Marks when it's right. And it's also a super long ass season. Woody Marks is just a phenomenal, I don't even want to say backup running back, but just a phenomenal running back to have in your running back repertoire. Defensively, not many pressing needs. A lot of pending free agents. Most of them are depth players. Sheldon Rankings at defensive tackle, and then Tim Settle. I saw a pretty good mock. John Franklin Myers, I think, to Houston would be pretty good. Whether it's draft, free agency, guys like John Franklin Myers, they're going to continue to dress that interior defensive line. I would assume you guys want Sheldon Rankings back anyways as well. But you got Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson Jr. still in town. The other free agent, other than those two DTs I just mentioned, was MJ Stewart. Now, they're going to replace this. I saw one that was intriguing is Kobe Bryant. There's some interesting safeties in this year's class as well, but other than Kalen Bullock, there wasn't. I'm trying to remember. The safety position felt like it was just a complete revolving door. I don't remember C.J. Gardner-Johnson being there. That didn't work out. I know MJ Stewart looked fine, but then I think he had a quad injury at the end of the season. They're going to address that safety spot. So it's, a lot of the same, more of the same with Houston. There's not really, the defense, most of it's coming back. All the important players are coming back this season. And so we'll see what they do to address it. The offensive line is first and foremost, and it's just obviously and by far the most important aspect of the Houston Texans offseason. No matter what shape or form it comes in, how it comes in, offensive line is just the most pressing thing. I know Stroud's a worthy quarterback. I know he's a capable top 10 QB like we saw in his rookie season, and I think he just needs more stability on this offensive line, and even just the timing and chemistry of the health in your wide receiver room. I think they just need the perfect storm offensively to come here, and last year it just was not proper timing. So, fun spot to be in. They've won a playoff game 3 straight years, and they still get kind of clowned. They still, Stroud gets kind of tossed around like a poor quarterback. I get it. He wasn't great last season. All things considered, he was pretty damn fine, especially at the end of the season, getting this team into the playoffs and, winning that game against Pittsburgh. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit that like button, hit that sub button. I need to say it way earlier in the video because I thought we were home free getting to 200 subs by the end of February, but we might not hit it. So sub goes a long way reaching that goal. But thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts from Houston down below. I probably won't edit this. I want to get to the gym so I can watch the final round of the Genesis Invitational. So have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.